We are at Tahiti's Creek, a little water source. You gotta get down in there. Okay, so here it is, 9:30, and the snow is already starting to soften up a little bit. Early in the morning, it's all consolidated and nice and hard. You can see right now. So when you're going downhill, your feet will slip a little bit. So it makes a little challenge. It's only 9:30 now, so it's just going to get softer and softer throughout the day. At least I got some of the hard stuff out, knocked it out before while it was nice and hard. Okay, so here's a post holing is. You go walk along the trail. I don't know if you can see in the shade, but then you take a step and you go, down to your knee or down to your crotch, and that's no fun. But post holing becomes more and more of a problem. As the snow softens up later afternoon, and you walk along, and it's a danger you gotta look out for, because you can, right there you can kind of see part of a branch and tear up your legs a little bit if you're not careful. Okay, so here we are at Humber Park. It's a little bit after 10 in the morning. Just a gorgeous day. I feel so much better than I did yesterday at this point. Probably because I'm eating better, getting a little bit more used to the altitude. After getting water at Tahiti's Creek, the PCT kind of scoots over by Tahiti's Peak and rides the ridge over, or you can take a shortcut through the meadow. They call it a blue blaze. I was going to go the blue blaze route, but the footpath kind of took me the other way, so I ended up doing the PCT. It's about 0.6 miles longer, but I stuck to a true PCT. So I think I've done about 4 miles right now, a little bit after 10. Just feeling good. It's actually fun walking on the snow and not dealing with blowdowns. I'll take snow over blowdowns any day of the week. So right here around Humber Park, I'd say it's probably maybe 60% covered with snow. And as you get towards Tahiti's Peak, that's probably like 90-95% covered with snow. So microspikes are definitely needed, or you could do without, but microspikes are definitely worthwhile. Ice axe, no, you don't need that. We'll see what Foley Ridge. That's my last concern point, and mainly because the snow is getting soft. I'll be there later afternoon, so we'll check back in down the trail. About a half mile from the trail junction to Mount San Jacinto. Just put my microspikes back on. I had them off from Humber Park until half mile up, but we're seeing more and more snow. It was almost none down at Humber Park, or that section past Humber Park. So we'll see you down the trail. Okay, here we are for the junction going up to San Jacinto Peak, which I'm not going to do. I've done that a few times. I'm trying to recoup some miles from yesterday, since I didn't go very far yesterday. But we're at the junction. We'll go this way, PCT northbound. Up ahead that way is going on up to San Jacinto Peak. And I think my next water source is at that Strawberry Sienna. See you down the trail. All right. So here we are, just a little bit past the trail junction going up to San Jacinto. It's like 3.7 miles up to San Jacinto, so I'm not doing that. But head down the trail. I think I'm at the highest point that the PCT goes in this section. So it's over 9,000 feet. It's like 9,080 feet, something like that. So I think might be the highest until we get to Sierras. I'll have to see. I don't think Big Bear goes that high, and I don't think Mount Baden Powell goes that high. But we'll see in a week or two. But right now, we're at the highest point, at least in Southern California. See you down the trail. Okay, this is a seasonal stream according to Far Out. I'm going to go 0.2 miles up, the last water source. Hoping this ice bridge holds, because I'm going for a dip. Closing out day 17. It's been really another rough day. Took about 12 hours to do 12 miles. Maybe a little bit longer. So I started at 6:30 a.m. and I hit camp about 7 p.m. as it was getting dark. So I guess 12 and a half hours to do 12 miles. And I was hiking all day. Stopped briefly for a little bit of breakfast and a little bit of lunch and snacks here and there. But I was hiking as much as I could. So it was a long day. We saw snow most of the day. I took my micro spikes off for a couple miles in the morning, a mile around South Junction, and maybe 2 miles after splitting off a little bit north of South Junction. So probably the majority of the day, probably, I don't know, 8 or 9 miles was in micro spikes. So really slow. The thing that also really hurt was kept losing the trail. I hiked pretty much all day by myself, except for a little bit in the morning. And multiple times I lost the trail. It's probably 4 or 5 times. And each time it was, you know, in a steep area. So I'd finally figure out I was off trail, but, you know, I'd be several hundred feet down. Maybe I'd wander around for 20 minutes to a half hour each time trying to reacquire the trail. So that was really tough. So looking forward to tomorrow. Not sure if I'm going to be able to make it to I-10 or not. I'm going to try. It's going to be my biggest day if I can. Still have Fuller Ridge to deal with. I think I've got 3 more miles of snow. Then Fuller Ridge is about 2 miles, and then the snow should clear about a mile after that. After the snow clears, then I've got about 19 miles downhill to I-10. So I'm not sure if I can do, you know, in the snow I'm only doing maybe a mile an hour. So 19 miles after that, that'd be another 12, 13 hour day. I've had 2 rough days, so we'll see. I'm having a light dinner tonight because it's dark already. I'm in my tent. I'm not going to cook. I'm just going to have a complete cookie and some protein powder. And tomorrow I'll try and eat before I get on the trail or shortly thereafter before I do Fuller Ridge. So we'll see how tomorrow goes. We'll see if I got enough gas left in the tank to do a 22-mile day. If not, I got enough food I can pull up short and make I-10 Friday morning. So we'll check in tomorrow morning. Okay, here we are, maybe 1.5 miles outside camp. Looking back, that's the peak of San Jacinto. So you can see a lot of the snow's gone, but there's still a fair amount up there. And pan over, I'm kind of on the ridge, so you can barely see down the desert floor there. It might even be I-10 way down there through the trees. We'll get a better shot later on. So just putting my spikes again. We're back in the snow. This might be the beginning part of Fuller Ridge. So you can see, you know, there's a little bit of steepness, a little bit of exposure if you do slip and fall. But, you know, there's good tracks here. So with micro spikes, I don't see any problem. So I did that 3-mile section, 2 hours, 45 minutes. So, yeah, I was happy with that. I was figuring about a mile an hour. I did it slightly better than that. So we're making good time. I feel good. I got to eat because I didn't eat much last night or this morning. I had a bunch of bars, but I need to get a proper lunch in me. This is a primo campground here. You know, picnic table, place to sit down, dirt. We're living large today. So I'm going to take a break and reevaluate, but I think as long as I don't lose the trail or there's a lot of blowdowns, I think I got a shot at making it down to I-10 by 7 o'clock and getting picked up by Sandra. We'll see how the day goes. but it should be pretty much all downhill. You know, no more need for micro spikes. Might hit a patch of snow here and there, but should be cruising downhill now, hopefully. We'll see what the trail's like. We'll see on down the trail. Okay, so I'm pretty much out of the snow. Shed my micro spikes. Beautiful panorama here. I believe that's what you're looking at as Mount San Jacinto. You can see the 7 peaks that Sandra and I did several years ago. Down the valley's I-10. And if you keep going left, I don't know if this is going to come out in the video or not, but off in the distance, I believe that's Baldy or Mount Baden-Powell off in the distance. Because I believe Big Bear here is north of San Jacinto, so it's over that ridge. We'll be skirting around the eastern side of San Jacinto. We won't be going above it. We'll be going down Whitewater. And then down the valley, looks like that's the casino in Cabazon, right along I-10 there. So maybe we'll stop for dinner at the bottom of the hill about 9 hours from now. Wow, what a difference just a mile makes. I mean, look at this terrain. We're dropping altitude fast. And just a mile ago, you know, I was on the snow in micro spikes. You had to watch every step. So, you know, it's a little bit physically taxing, but mentally, you just, every step you're watching to make sure that there's solid ground. Because a lot of times there's post holes and the snow will just give way and you'll sink up to your knee or to your waist in snow. So you gotta avoid those. And you're always slipping and sliding. You know, the micro spikes give you good traction, but you know, when the snow gets softer, you're always on a weird angle, either going up or down or side to side. So you're always, you know, just trying to make sure that you got good traction. And sometimes your poles sink in the snow and they get stuck. So it's just work. You know, you're going between half a mile and a mile an hour. And then you get to this dirt and you can just cruise. I just feel like, you know, put in 5th gear, headed downhill, and I'm just flying down the hill now. It's night and day. It's a nice view of San Jacinto there. And you can see off to the left a bunch of peaks. There's a trail that goes up there. It's called the 7 Peaks Trail. And there's 7 peaks above 10,000 feet. So we did that. You kind of do that whole traverse from left to right. You finish up on top of San Jacinto. Then you hike down into Whitewash. So Sandra and I did that several years ago. Real good trail. I think they give you a patch if you complete all 7 peaks. And right here is a beautiful view of Mount San Jacinto. That's like 10,800 feet. The PCT kind of went around the right-hand side and maxed out at about 9,000 feet, maybe 9,100. Okay, there's Mr. Rattlesnake underneath the manzanita tree, starting to crawl away. Okay, here she is. 200 trail miles from Mexico. Only 2450 left to go. See you on down the trail. Okay, last water stop about 3.8 miles away. Should be there in about an hour and a half. Hopefully Sandra's there. Okay, so we've been coming down a 3-mile road walk, or I don't know, 2-mile road walk. Getting back on the trail here. See a little PCT magic. And someone left a box with a cooler and some Gatorade on ice. So that's pretty nice. I'm only 2 miles from Sandra, so I'm going to leave it for other hikers. But that's pretty cool. Thanks, Mile 207 crew. Okay, so here we are, day 18, end of day 18, and we made it down all the way. It was a long day. Made it the full 22 miles. And get this, from campsite down to I-10, I did 22 miles and almost 8,000 feet of elevation drop. So it was a long day. The first 3 hours, or the first 3 miles, took almost 3 hours. And the next 19 miles I did in about 8 hours. So it's making good time. It was good trail all the way down. Only lost the trail twice today, so that helped. Pretty big difference in temperature. I'll have to see what the thermometer says here in a little bit. I know it was 34 when I woke up. I think the lowest was 33 last night. So anyway, Sandra picked me up at I-10. We went into Banning, had a big dinner. They actually still have a Sizzler open there, so went to Sizzler, had some sirloin steak, Malibu chicken, and shrimp, baked potato. It's a huge dinner. We're headed back to Idlewild right now to stay at a friend's house. We'll probably take 2 0 days in Idlewild before we get back on the trail towards Big Bear. See you later. So here we are at George's place, gracious host, with our good friend Scott. And look at this trail magic they had set up. So looks like we're going to be playing some games, eating some M&Ms, and drinking wine.
Wait, that bottle of wine is half empty.
Well, George.
We had to make sure it was okay for you, Chuck.